No, he's the greatest non-basketball player in the history of the state of Indiana. Because, of course, basketball... Was he a point guard? Valparaiso University, right? Valparaiso, right there. If it was up to me, it'd be Fuzzy Thurston University.
Basketball scholarship.
Sir, where is he really? Well, you tell it, not me.
Yeah, but they never played high school football. They didn't have football at what?
What school?
Oh, there were only 11 people in his class, and one of them. So they never played football. They never did. Wait a minute. 7 of them were girls. So Fuzzy went to Valpo on a basketball scholarship. So he never played high school football. And the story I heard, and I'm sure there are many of them, but he started as a freshman guard at Valpo, and then started getting a little stocky. Well, you can call it stocky if you like. You can call it fat if you want. Heavy. He was getting heavier. So the second half of his freshman year, he didn't get to start. In his sophomore year, he's sitting on the bench, and his coach came and said, "Hey, you ever look at that football? You think you maybe want to play a little football?" And so he played football, and he is the only guy I know of that has been in 6 World Championship games who has won 6 World Championship games. The rest of us have won 5.
Where was the 6th?
Fuzzy was with the Baltimore Colts in 57 and 58. And when the Colts beat the Giants in that sudden death overtime, Fuzzy was on that team.
Really?
Yeah, I was actually in Green Bay, and we played the Colts in Baltimore, and it was a miserable day. It started to rain about an hour or 2 before the game, and it rained, steady rain, all through the game. And we weren't having a great deal of success that year under Scooter McLean. We won 1, tied 1, and lost 10, and had the worst record in the history of the franchise. And so we're playing Baltimore in Baltimore, and Baltimore is ahead of us 56 to zip. 56 to nothing, right? We got a quarterback named Joe Francis who's a bit of a scrambler, and he runs a little and throws a little and gets us across midfield, middle of the 4th quarter, and about 70,000 screaming idiot fans from Baltimore, the largest outside insane asylum in the world, as they were known as, started screaming, "Hold 'em, hold 'em, hold 'em." And they held us. And the final score was 56 to nothing. But Fuzzy was on that team.
6. You got 6 rings?
Boyd wanted to know. Baltimore Colts had a white horse that would run around the goalpost after every touchdown, and he died that day.
So anybody raise your hands if you have questions. I got a million, but I want to defer to anybody here if there's something you want to ask them. So if not, I'm going to take over. How many of you have seen the HBO Vince Lombardi, and now there's the play on Broadway, Lombardi? I don't know if any of you are.
I think Robbie and I have been to most of them. Yeah. Together. We weren't sitting together, but we were in the same building together. I'll comment on the things, Robbie, and then I'll pass the mic to you. But we were in New York, and going to a Broadway show on opening night in New York City is something in Boise, Idaho that I don't get the opportunity to do very often. So it was a wonderful night for me. I enjoyed it tremendously. It was a beautiful little theater, about 700-800 people, and Robbie and I were sitting a couple guys in between us, but we were, like, the stage was right here. It was right, I mean, we were right almost in the middle of it, and it was impossible to be rational about how you felt about it because you'd lived it. And you see a imitation doing Lombardi, and you spent so much time with the real thing, it's impossible to give the imitation his due. He was a hell of an actor, and he was doing a great job. But every time he said something, I'm hearing the old man say it, and I'm going back to those real days. And so I enjoyed the show. It was a wonderful show. We had a wonderful night up at Lambeau for the documentary, and that was an excellent show, in my opinion. I'll give the mic to Robbie. And it's the last time I'll have a chance to say anything, so good night.
All right, this was Jerry's right. It was a great experience. You know, it's kind of interesting. You go there to see. Well, first of all, I grew up in New Jersey, about, well, I'd say maybe 100 miles to most of New York City. And when I was a kid, when I started going to New York, because I don't know how to put this, I'll just say it. You could drink at 18 in New York, and you had to be 21 in New Jersey. So I started going to New York when I was 18 years old. And it's kind of interesting because there were no black actors on Broadway in those days. I was raised in the 40s and 50s. There were no black actors. One of the first black actors to be on Broadway is Sammy Davis Jr. in Golden Boy, was it? Yeah, Golden Boy.
Golden Boy.
Yeah, anyway. And then I go into the theater, opening night, and there's a black actor playing Dave Rowson. I like to freak out, man. Blew my mind. I kept checking him out and kept saying, hey, he's not quite buff enough. I was bigger than that.
Now,
I was meaner than that, but it was an interesting thing, and Jerry's right, we were sitting right on the stage, and they knew we were in this audience, and the actors, they all started playing us. You know what I'm saying, Jerry? And I think that if you ever go see it, Judith Light, who plays Marie Lombardi, stole the show. She was excellent, just excellent. It's worth seeing. And the documentary, it's on HBO. You should see it because it's another thing that's just excellent. Done very, very well, I think. And it tells a lot of things about Lombardi you never heard before. And it goes into it, and people understand now about Vince Lombardi. He was more than a coach. He's more than just an icon. He was something else, something special. It's hard to put in words what Vince Lombardi was and what he meant to us. Now, there's one thing about the documentary. In the documentary, I said something. I told the people it's going to be, I said, this is off camera. He said, sure, fine. And I said it, and I was trying to explain to him how Vince touched me when he died. And I just jokingly said, I said, it was the first time I ever cried at a white man's funeral. And that's the only thing he put in there. No legal. So people say to me, you just don't cry when white folks die? I said, no, I was trying to explain to him that Vince Lombardi was like a father to me. And it was off camera. It's supposed to be off the record. But I'm going to tell you something. Whenever you got a mic around your neck and there's a camera in the room, you're on the record. Don't believe it. So that's why people explain that everybody sees the documentary. I do go to other white folks' funerals, and I have almost cried a lot of them.
But people don't know, and I never knew this, you were, I believe, the first starting African-American linebacker in the history of the NFL.
In the NFL, there were African-American linebackers in the AFL,
right,
but not the NFL. They said that we weren't sharp enough, that black folks weren't intelligent enough to be linebackers. Now there's only 3 white linebackers.
See, and not that you're old, but he played at Penn State so long ago. Joe Paterno was an assistant coach.
That's right. That's right. Joe Paterno. That's a great story. Joe Paterno, by the way, I'll tell you something this, Homer. Joe Paterno was a great friend of Vince Lombardi. They were close together. When Joe Paterno was in high school, his high school team played St. Cecilia, Vince Lombardi's high school team, in a big game. And the story goes that the whole defense of Vince Lombardi's whole defense got letters saying, we're going to kick your butt. And this Paterno's going to eat you up. And it was signed JP for Joe Paterno. And the whole team got it. They're all fired up. Then somebody realized all the letters are postmarked Queens, New York, where Vince is from. And Joe lived in Brooklyn. And Joe beat Vince, and they were friends ever since. Joe Paterno, in fact, in those days, which was legal, Joe Paterno was a scout for the Green Bay Packers. Assistant coaches for major college football programs scouted for the pros. And Joe scouted for the Packers. And it wasn't common to draft black guys early those days. And Joe Paterno told Vince to draft me. That's how I got drafted. Vince looked at the film, and Vince drafted me. And Joe always quipped, he said, I told Vince to draft him, but didn't think he was going to do it in the first round. But he did. And that's how it was. That's how I got it. And Vince Lombardi, here's something that you may not know. Joe Paterno was in line to be interviewed for the head coaching job of the Green Bay Packers when Phil Bengtson was terminated. And they interviewed Dan Devine like on a Friday or Thursday, and Dan Devine found out Joe was coming in Monday for the interview. He called back to the board of directors and said, if I'm not announced as the head coach of the Packers by Sunday, I'm withdrawing my name. They announced Dan Devine was going to be the new coach, told Joe, do not come for the interview.
You mean Joe Paterno could have been a head coach of the Green Bay Packers?
Joe Paterno wanted to coach the Green Bay Packers because he idolized Vince Lombardi. He told me if he'd come, no matter what they offered, he was going to do it.
What was wrong with those people